Well, I would love to welcome one of the women in my world, Lisa Arnold. We are so excited that she is part of season 2 of the Women in My World, kicking it off. I want to say thank you right off the bat to Edify, partnering with us and making this podcast happen. And so that all of the women's voices in this atmosphere of entertainment and media get to be heard. We are just excited, though, to launch. And I cannot believe that I have Lisa sitting here with me today, but I want to give you a little bit of an introduction to this incredible woman. First, Lisa is the executive director of Check the Gate Productions in Louisiana. She is a veteran of film in the film industry. Lisa is an award-winning director, writer, and producer with over 20 years of experience in film, television, and stage. Her projects include Bringing Back Christmas, Into the Spotlight, One Nation Under God, Kids Combat, Cage, and so many more. I love, though, first and foremost, Lisa, your heart to mentor and to just encourage people on set with you. So you have a list here of so many incredible accolades. But I can't wait to dig in and talk to you about who Lisa Arnold is and how you are impacting the kingdom for God. So welcome to the Women in My World.
Thank you so much for having me, Shari. It's such an honor to be here with you. I love what you're doing. I love how you are just pouring into women all over the world through this ministry, and it's so great to be a small part of it.
Well, thank you. And you are a big part of it because your voice matters so much in all that we're doing. And I am just thrilled. So thank you for partnering and teaming up with me and just being that voice. The way that I love to kick off every episode, Lisa, is by asking this question because I think it's so important for women to hear other women talk and define this word. So I would like to ask you, how do you define success?
Oh, that's really simple for me. It's something that I can use my gifts and talents that really fulfills my heart. That just makes me joyful. So it's whatever brings me joy. That is success.
I love that because I think that so often we are so wrapped up in all of the things that are going on in the world that we forget about truly day to day joy and perseverance that God calls us to. And I always love, we're always talking about it, but my husband and I said, no matter the days that I'm crying or the days that I'm laughing or the days that I'm feeling full of joy, it's to really have joy in all things. So it's having it in the moment and working through each thing that we're going through every day. I
Sure.
would love for the listeners today, our audience is women and they are just continuing to dream and to hear just from God. They're longing for, whatever season it is in their life and how God is speaking to them. And so one of the things I love to talk a little bit about is sharing with us your testimony a little bit. Like, how did you know that the Lord was calling you into this world of entertainment, specifically this profession that you're in? And I'd love just to hear a little bit of your journey.
Right. I think it's really interesting because I think all of us can go back to our very early years and see where the Lord was leading us, even when we were 5 and 6 years old, and planting those seeds. And do you know when I was 6, I was putting on shows in my garage. I was charging people. I was writing them. I was performing them. I was a one woman show, and I would charge them a quarter to come into my garage and see my show. So I've literally been doing it all my life. I think what's really interesting is how the Lord works through the seasons with you,
Mhm.
and where certain gifts and talents really come out more in the different seasons. So he moved me from being on camera to being behind camera. I never thought I'd be a writer. And then he blessed me with this ability to write. And now that's one of my greatest passions. I've been doing it since the 90s, and I love it so much. Um, I feel like he has made a way and used everything that has ever happened in my experiences, in my circumstances. He has allowed all of it to come together to mold me into how he's using me today. So it's really incredible. I love being on this journey with him. And my testimony with the Lord, I always say, your testimony is today.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you doing for the Lord today? Because that's really what's important. It's not when you came to the Lord when you were 6 or 16 or, whatever. It's how are we impacting the kingdom today, and what are we doing today, and trusting the Lord for a new testimony for each day.
Wow, I love that. There's so much good in everything that you just said, all these nuggets of gold. And one thing I'm going to go back a little bit. I relate to the putting on shows in the garage and inviting the neighbors. I remember, my aunts and uncles, when we would do family reunions in North Dakota, my family would just, every time we would get together, I was already down in my grandmother's and aunts, and all of their old treasure chests and pulling out blankets and robes and jewelry and whatever it was that they had for us to put these shows on. And it really does launch this spark of creativity in us to go on and to really just to see how God put that in us at such a young age. We want to be we want to be the show woman right away, right? We're getting ready to come. We're not only putting on a show, creating it, we're also marketing it and getting people in to come and see it.
That's right.
Ah,
Yeah,
I love it. I love that
exactly.
we share in that in common. I also love that you said that today is your testimony, like today of what you're doing with what God is doing in your life today. And I think that's such a
Mm.
powerful statement because again, we so often are constantly looking back or we're trying to look forward to do things that really emotionally put us in this spin. My husband said to me recently, he said, stop looking back and look up. And I thought, what a powerful statement. So that if I do that, if I stop looking back and I look up, I can actually live in today's world and do what it
Yes.
is that God has called me to do in the kingdom, not only for him, but also just in the interactions and the encounters that I have. And which I love because that takes me right away into talking to you a little bit about how you found yourself in the faith and family inspirational world because you're doing that. You're also doing a lot of family inspirational content. So talk to us a little bit about how you found yourself in this particular part of the industry.
Yeah, because it's really interesting because I did go through a lot of worldly places to get here. Like I started in theater and I did theater for 15 years, and then I was offered a talk show, a live talk show. So I did that for years, which is was very community driven,
Mm,
and I loved how I got to serve in that. But I missed acting and I missed creating. And so I went back to acting in the 90s, and everything that I was being offered, I did not want to be a part of.
yeah.
It wasn't some things, it was literally everything,
Mm-hmm.
and so there were several friends of mine that were starting to try and do productions that were more family friendly or full on faith based, and so I just served with them. It was however they needed me. I had producing experience, I had directing experience, but not with film. And I had, of course, on camera experience. And so it's just a matter of, I remember for Flywheel,
Mm-hmm.
one day I would be boom operator. One day I would be, hair and makeup. Next day I would be prop master. I mean, it was just serving however you could, right, to make
Mm-hmm.
these projects happen. And then as time went on, the Lord moved us to Louisiana. And then it was like, I could see it clearly. Like this was going to be my stomping ground for faith and family. I was really going to try and make an impact here in this state, particularly, but hoping that people around the world would see the films. But this is an area very much that's known for New Orleans and partying and voodoo, and a lot of different types of films are done here. But when I first came here, pretty much everything I was being sent was a horror film or, just not
Mm-hmm.
really where I had my heart. And I learned a long time ago, and I think every mother learns this because you don't want to take away time from your children. It's so precious.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you give your time to has to really matter. And so I wasn't seeing anything that I really wanted to put my time into and my love into, and so I started creating my own. And so that started in the early 2000s, and I've been directing, I think, since 2008. So it's been quite a journey.
Wow. Don't you always love when people go, "Oh, it just happened overnight?" Exactly.
Well, there are days when you feel like that. You're like, the Lord just took you from here to here, and it feels like it happened in one
Right.
night. But yeah, especially to outsiders, they like all of a sudden know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, no, it's a constant. It is such a constant ladder and step by step, and trusting the Lord every way that you
Mhm.
go, and just really feeling His peace about what you're supposed to be doing and where you're uh, allowing your time to be spent in your efforts for His kingdom.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you started this out with talking about even a lot of the things that were coming your way in the 90s that you just didn't want to be a part of. And I think time is precious. We are allotted a specific amount of time here on this earth, and what we do matters. And it is one thing we cannot buy back. We can't get back. And so whatever it is, wherever we're investing our time has to be for more than just an acting job, or whatever that might look in our career. And specifically, I think when we start to realize that investment of time is precious, it is really a precious time. When you talk a little bit about that, though, how do you think that, I mean, 90s, we know the struggles going back then, and we're also facing a lot of struggles in today's culture with entertainment and media as well. I know, right? It's everywhere. It's on every platform, and
Listen,
it's so
every time I
frustrating.
feel like there's something I can watch, like
Mhm.
it catches my eye, I love coming of age stories. So
Right.
I'll click on, like, oh, it's teenagers,
Yeah.
getting to know themselves. And I'll click on it. And when the first thing that comes up is TV mature,
Hmm.
and then all the bad words that you don't want to see follow
Hmm.
that, I'm just like, why? Why are we pouring that
Right.
into our young ones? And if that's a teen show, then that means tweens are watching it,
Right.
and they're the ones who are really gleaning from it.
Right.
So yeah, it's really not a great time. We desperately need not only faith content, but family friendly content that you can just sit around with your entire family, from a 5-year-old to a 80-year-old, and everybody enjoy it and feel like they're getting something from it, not just entertainment, but
Hmm.
I might be learning a few values. I might be learning a few things that can help me with my family, on how to communicate, or just, beautiful ways you can use this medium to really impact and change people's lives.
Absolutely. It's so good. And we're really in a culture right now where it doesn't matter what you turn on, there seems to be something that's challenging, whether it's for the family
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's as a husband and wife. It's something to me that is profound, specifically even watching so many of the platforms that really are geared towards teenagers or geared towards those, youngers than that. I mean, I was reading an article recently where most of the shows right now are targeting anywhere from 4 years old and up. I mean, 4 years old and up to be in a position where we're targeting them already is pretty heavy. And so, how do you feel as far as some of the struggles that you're facing with the family inspirational content that you're creating? What are some of the struggles that you're facing to get these projects either a made, to get them out onto a platform? What are you going through, and how can some of the listeners right now be praying for you, and also come alongside to figure out how to get these projects made? We want to be a voice in what our families are watching.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is allow us to make content that doesn't have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Allow us to make content that is just entertaining and
Good.
has good morals and values. That's it isn't trying to pass an agenda for today's world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we definitely battle. As soon as you get in the door with the bigger studios,
Mm-hmm.
those shifts and those adjustments are wanting to come. I feel like the Lord is really calling us to come together, to be the village, and to create more platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know nothing about creating a platform whatsoever, but I know that it's needed, and it's desperately needed for our type of content that we could, put on leave on, not worry when someone walks through the house that they're going to be seeing something that we don't want them to see. That's really going to pour into people, edify people, be enjoyable for them. All of
Mhm.
these things are very important to me and what the Lord has called me to. So it's finding, pray that not only the contents get created and get greenlit, but that we have, the ability to put those out there for the masses. We
Mhm.
have those distribution avenues that really allow people around the world to enjoy them. My grandkids are watching the old Full House. Like
Right.
that's how far back we're going,
Yep. Yep.
and it's like I really just, it's not that I want to go back to that era, but I want to go back to, the family being a fun family unit. My family has a lot of fun. And yes, we're silly a lot of times, but
Mhm.
it's not making fun of the parents, right? Like
Mhm.
we see over and over and over again today. It's doing life together, enjoying and really creating a community on shows. Like I love it when it's an all like everybody's included and it's a beautiful community. And
Mhm.
so, I've got a show that's in the 50s that I've sent you, and I kind of took the best of
Mhm.
the 50s and then left behind the part that's not so great about the 50s because I
Right.
want everybody to be a part of it. I want it to be uplifting. I want women to be uplifted in that
Mhm.
time period too. So, yeah, it's just finding, we've all, the Lord is just, I literally downloading to us
Yep.
all these great contents to be made.
Yep.
So I think the greatest prayer, Shari, is find us, fill the storehouse, and find us the venue,
Yep.
find us the distribution.
No, I love that. I think that's so important. And that really is. I mean, there's so much of the content right now that I do believe you're right. Like God is downloading these stories to us. He's bringing talent. He's bringing people behind and in front of the camera, and it's really finding the, I think, fundraising investments. People that really
Mm.
believe in the projects have the same, vision that God has downloaded to them as well, and also creating these platforms that really do. Give us an opportunity to stream these projects that we're called to creating and putting talent in it that really is uplifting and influencing a culture for his name. It's so important. It's so important to me, especially with the women in my world. It's something that we've really been, working towards for many years. And so I love just everything you shared about that, Lisa. I think one thing I always go back and want to talk a little bit about, because I think it's so something, a conversation that the women in my world, so many of the women I have with all the time, is talking a little bit about, does your career right now look like maybe what you believed it was going to look like? Or has God done something completely different that you could have never imagined?
Well, here's an interesting thing because I do not have an agent. I have never joined any of the unions, not
Mhm.
even when I was an actor. I have never joined any of the unions. I have no representation. When I get a gig,
Mhm.
it's from the Lord.
Yep.
It's literally the Lord just drops it and says, and that's usually the first comment that they say to me. The
Mhm.
Lord kept bringing your name to my mind,
Right.
and so he he's my gig booker, and everything he does I know is from him. And so I love that. I don't
Mhm.
really have to go. Now that doesn't mean that I don't go search out and I don't try and
Right. Right.
open doors and continually spread my lane and spread my wings a little bit. I do, but time and time again, those are not the ones that I'll end up doing. It's whatever he gives me directly.
Yep.
I don't know if I always the first time I directed, I knew this is
Mm.
what I wanted to do. This was my happy place.
Yep.
This fulfilled it. It was kind of like a checkbox on every gift that he had given me.
Mhm.
Yes, I needed to grow. I continue to grow tremendously in it, but my time on set is always so blessed, and I don't know. I'm just so grateful that he just kind of the Holy Spirit just kind of takes over, and we just have the most magnificent time on set. And days can be hard, and it's
Yes.
just so great to have everything run smoothly and have His presence and feel, just feel uplifted by each other.
Mhm.
You have a great set when, as soon as we call wrap for the day, everybody's like, where are we going? So everybody just wants to continue hanging out, and
Right.
then we're devastated when we have to break. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do so many series
Yeah.
and why I keep creating series, because I would love to stay with the same family for 7 years. So
Right.
that's something I keep praying with the Lord, give me that avenue so that we can just continue to be with each other and enjoy each other and, build
Right.
from that. So, but I got to fulfill everything he calls me to, right?
No, I think that's so good. I love that too because people always used to talk to me about that. People are always interested in agents and managers. And for so many years, same thing for me. I didn't have any agents or managers. I felt like God was my greatest agent that I could have ever asked for. And he still, like, he is the one constantly. When I even look back, it's like all things are possible through him. And I love that he can do far greater more far greater than any man can or any woman can do because he's God and he's already chosen those stories. And I think it's so cool to be able to just look at them in a way to feel that peace about what he's called you to and not constantly
Mm.
looking or striving or trying to figure it out. Now, again, like you said, I mean, we are supposed to be actively pursuing and walking out and honing in our gifts and talents and really working on our skills and being the best that we can at our job because when he calls, we should also be ready. But
Yes.
one thing I always say to everybody, and the girls remind me of this often. In fact, I think Micah just reminded me of it not too long ago. Was I'll say, if it's your story to tell, you're going to be the one to tell it. God will choose. He's already chosen you. Then, if it's not your story to tell, then somebody else will tell it. And I really believe that. And so it really
Yes.
does free us up to walk in that peace that would surpass all understanding with what Christ has for us. I love, not only are you this incredible woman, you're an executive director of your own company, you're creating content, you're doing all of these things, but you're also a wife and a mom and a grandmother. And so I would
Yeah.
love for you just to tell us a little bit about how you navigate being a wife and a mother and a grandmother and also your career that God has called you to.
Yeah, well, I'm very blessed that I have such a loving and just supportive family.
Mhm.
My husband is night and day from, we're just night and day from each other. He
Mhm.
would never step into any limelight, and he really doesn't get into the creative world at all. But he's my biggest champion, my absolute biggest champion. And I love Kelly for that. And then my son works with me on set some of the times. He has his own career DPing and directing and camera op and all those things. So, but every now and then everything works out and we're able to work together.
Mm.
And I love that time on set with him. It's so special. It's so wonderful. He's now 33 years old, so he's got a big career going for himself, and he's so going to surpass me.
Mhm.
And I'm just excited to watch. And I support him any way I can, And then my daughter, who has given me my two grandchildren, which I adore. I mean,
Mhm.
look, people, that is the best part of life. So a job better be worth it to take me away from those grandkids, because I
Mhm.
love spending time with them. And we have so much fun. Eli and
Mm.
Emmy and I make movies all the time. Eli's just stepping into his director mode, and he's writing in his journal. And, he's only 8 years old, and it's just so much fun to see. But you have to share it with your family.
Mm.
Pray that you have a very supportive family, and then know when it's time to pull back. And the Lord will give you dry seasons, and it's for a reason. You
Mhm.
need to be there for somebody, for
Mhm.
your family. There's always a reason why you may have several months where you're just at home. And I love that I can trust that.
Mhm.
And I'm also never take for granted what he does with me and through me. And every time I leave a set, I'm like, Lord, if I never get to do this again, I'm just so thankful that you let me do it this time.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love it so much. You just got to stay in that heart of gratitude and grace, and know that he has every season for you. And sometimes you will be called to step aside, and then other times you're called to it's go time and be all in. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where I am right now. So a lot
I
going on.
Well, and that's that moment of being ready, right? Like we're still doing all the things
Yes.
to be ready for it. I love those answers. I always think about that too with my family. My husband and I are empty nesters, no grandkiddos yet, but hopefully sometime in the future. But it definitely becomes a different world. You know, we always used to think we're going to slow down a little bit, but actually, what we've done is we've actually increased the speed. It's really kind of crazy. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the really cool projects that you've been working on. You've had just some really amazing projects. I know with one of the recent ones you did, Into the Spotlight, you got to work with some of my favorite people, all of these young stars and just up and coming young talent behind the camera and in front of it. And so I would love for you to share about a little bit about some of the projects you're working on, and then talk to us about maybe one of the things that you've absolutely loved on set and maybe something that's been a huge challenge for you to overcome.
Okay. Well, I'll start with Into the Spotlight because you're right. I worked with the best of the best
Mhm.
on that. It was so amazing. First, Khaki and Brian Warren and their daughter Kate and their son Charlie
Mm.
really helmed the whole project, and it was so amazing to work with them. And then Justin Tolley came on board to be our producer. um, so phenomenal. Can't say enough about Justin. And then David Cook came in with him, and then this amazing cast of kids I did not know, and I shouldn't call them kids because they're adults, but they're just so
Mhm.
amazing. I had not been introduced to any of them, had never worked with them before. Um, but was so pleased with their auditions and
Mm.
could not wait to be on set with them.
Mm.
And then once we got on set, then learned, well, this is like their third or fourth project together. So they've all been doing a lot of projects together. So Rafael Ruggiero was in Into the Spotlight with Kate Larson and Justin Sterner and Amber Sterner
Mhm.
and Isabel Amoyan. And I mean, it was just such amazing cast. We had Alina Pitts. We had so many wonderful young kids, and I love those coming of age
I
stories.
do too.
Like, I just think they're so great, so empowering. It's like finding out who you are and
Mhm.
being on that journey with them is really exciting and wonderful. And then I think it was my third time working with Lee Allen Baker on that film, and every time I just adore her, and I love working with her. And Kevin Sizemore came in for us, and Victoria, and I mean, it was a stellar cast all the way through.
Mm.
Karen Abercrombie, like
Mm.
so many people that I love. Anthony Evans. I mean, I could go on all day about this cast, but they were such a joy to work with, and we just had a phenomenal time, and they really did an amazing performance. And Into the Spotlight was a little bit of a dream check for me because it was my first musical, and
Mm.
I came from musical theater, so
Mhm.
this is something that I really wanted to get into. I love comedy too. So it was just so much fun to every day on set to find those magic moments, those great beats, those just hilarious, moments that everybody, the audience is just going to take away. And it's being so well received at festivals. I can't wait to get it out there. So I
Great.
think that one is a fun one. I just wrapped on Bringing Back Christmas, which has musical elements in it.
Mhm.
Not so much a musical, but straight up comedy. I mean, it does, however, have the most beautiful love story because it goes back to BC time, and you get
Mm.
to take this look at Mary and Joseph, but almost like it was Mary and Joseph today.
Mm.
And so it puts you in their mind frame, and you just for the first time go, wow, that I just have never really put myself in that place of what that would have been like for them.
Mhm.
So it's a really awesome, awesome film. I can't wait to share it. And they're already working on the spinoff for the series. So
Yay!
that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, 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 yeah. So that one's going to be in theaters, by the way, in November.
Wow.
It's the quickest turnaround I've ever done. I
Wow.
think we filmed in July. And yeah, I'm off to LA to finish post next week. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that right there in itself is like one of the huge challenges because post is something that, in this day and age, it seems like it's going faster and faster, but goodness, I mean, it used to be a year, if sometimes not longer, that we were actually in the post
Yeah.
scenario. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It can be very time. Yeah. So yeah,
No,
it's
that's so good.
I love it. I love it when it moves quickly, and because you get to experience it so much more. It's not 2 years later you're seeing your movie come out. You know.
No, I know, and I love that. It's so good. Tell us, you've got so many great things going on, and you're busy, and I always try to impress upon people like set life is tough. We not only is it the pre-pro that goes into it. I mean, we're also thinking like our families, and we've got the pre-pro, and then we're filming, and then it's the post production. And so, one of the things I love just to kind of chat a little bit about is how you specifically stay connected to the Lord. Like, what does that look like for you and in your daily time? Because I know for me, if I'm not like plugging in moment by moment, it might get ugly really fast.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is the busier you are,
Hmm.
the more you better stay connected with him,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's like it's inviting him in to every moment of every day.
Yeah.
So particularly when we're on set, because not only are we making a movie, which is an investment we have to protect, and you want to do your best, you want to bring excellence, but you're also there kind of as the mom over this beautiful family that's there. So you
Hmm.
better have God's love for them at all times. You better be edifying at all times. You want to bring joy to their life. You want
Hmm.
to see them become the very best that they can. So I always say, it doesn't when I'm a director, my name may be up here, but I'm down here.
Yep.
I'm at the bottom.
Yep.
I'm coming with a servant's heart, and I'm going to make sure that everybody on the team, PAs, everyone is equipped to do their very best, to bring
Hmm.
their very best, to grow in their gifts and talents,
Hmm.
and to see them just go way beyond what they thought they could. So
Hmm.
I love to listen to all the voices. I think God calls us to collaborate. I know there has to be kind of one, head voice for the vision, but we never get there on our own. It's always a collaboration. There were a couple of times, particularly in bringing back Christmas, because we were going back to BC, right? And
Hmm.
so the writers had meticulously put together everything. And the more I researched, I kept coming up with some questions. And twice the Lord did this where he just brought me like this beautiful thing that I did not know, just literally moments before we filmed, and we were able to capture it. And it was things that no one had written about, that no one had talked about, but it made such a visual difference in the film. And
Hmm.
so you have to stay plugged in. It is just like writing a script. You want it to be a direct download.
Hmm.
So be open to that, and really invite that from the Lord.
Yeah.
He's called you to this, so let him do the work through you. You're just the vessel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because I think that really is when we can get out of our own way, God's like if he's really truly in it, he's got a great vision for it in the first place. And so, I love how he downloads. I remember when I was working on Identity Crisis, and you know, we were shooting at GCU, and we were thinking through locations and so on and so forth, and all of a sudden it was like we need to kind of rethink this whole idea of this ending because of locations. And it's like, okay, God, what is it that you want to see? How is this story supposed to come to an end? And I feel like the Lord just gave us the perfect location. He gave us the perfect, the timing, like
Yeah.
everything was great. And I think to myself, I'm so happy that I was plugged in, because if I wasn't, I would have probably messed that up pretty bad. I was like in my own head, you're exhausted and you're dealing with everybody,
Well,
but I love that. I think
yeah.
it's such a just to be reminded when you're busier to stay connected to the Lord. What do you
Yeah, and it'll help you get the countenance that you need to, because one of the things we all have to learn, first as humans and as
mm,
people in the industry, and
mhm,
just with whatever career, because we all want to make our mark. We all feel like we have to prove ourselves. Like I think back to my 20s and 30s, I was like, I was so insecure, and I just felt like I had to like claim my territory and not let anybody near it. I don't know. There's no nice way to put it. It's like a dog peeing on a spot and saying, "This is mine," you know? And so we have to like let that go
Yeah.
and get over that.
Yeah.
And when I see that, you ask me, like, what is one thing that I don't like on set? That's one thing.
Mhm.
Because if I see somebody rising up like that and
Mhm.
being like, "This is my job, this is my territory, this is my," I just, I just want to love on them and help them let it go. Just let
Yeah.
it go, man. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's tough because, and I get it. I mean, that's one of those really challenging positions that we're in. As we're starting to wrap up, I want to ask you, because I think that you might have even just answered it for me, but what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's pursuing a career, whether it's directing or producing, deciding that they want to do the same thing that Lisa Arnold is doing? What would you tell that person to do? How would you advise them?
Mm. The first thing I would say is get in there and serve. You're
Mm,
going to know people in the industry. You may not get
mhm,
a paycheck from it. Don't worry about it. The Lord's going to handle it for you. Get in there and serve, because
mhm.
those people will one day become your champions and will come around and help you, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if you're the PA bringing water, if you're helping the scripty, whatever you're doing, you're going to be learning. You just
Mhm,
having set time is like the greatest value that you can get. So just go with a humble heart and get
mhm,
in there and serve however you can. Secondly, really walk in different shoes and
mm,
figure it out. Like, I've
mhm.
produced, I direct, I write, I've been on camera, I've been behind camera, I've done all these things. So I know what it's like to walk in those shoes. And it's been great because the Lord has really shown me, what it takes for a producer to pull off something, what it takes for the director to pull off something, what it means for the
Mm.
writer once you get to set and things get shifted. So I'm very sensitive to everything. Like, I was doing a rewrite last week, Shari, and the producer hat won out because I was like, okay, I can do this, and oh, this is gonna be great. Da, da. And then I was like, that's going to be really hard to film and very expensive. And there's just, there was not enough wins. And so the producer hat won out, and I had to think through another way to
Yeah.
write that scene. Yeah. So I think it's always great if you can just get a little bit of experience in each arena, because what you're going to figure out where your gifts are. You're going to figure
Mhm.
out where your joy is.
Yep.
I can produce all day. I don't want to, but I can, but I don't want to.
I
I,
understand.
I do. I do love equipping my friends that direct. Like, I love setting them up for success,
Yeah.
but I am not going to have the same joy that I would have if I were directing. And again, you have to
Mhm.
go back to your time is your greatest commodity.
Yeah.
So where are you going to spend your time? But I do think it's super important to get a little bit of experience across the board, just so
Mhm.
you can understand. Walt Disney did that. He would dress in character. He
Mm.
would go and work in the gift shops. He would
Mhm.
go with the cleaning crew sometimes,
I
just so
love
he could
it.
understand what they have to go through
Yep.
every day.
Yep.
And it really gives you the empathy to understand, and then to help you turn around so you can equip and edify and encourage.
I love it. That's great advice, and I think Walt Disney did it so well. He did. I love
Yeah.
that's such a great example. I think all the advice that you gave, Lisa, is really important for people to latch onto and really get out there and exercise those skills and be on set, learn some, humbly serve with
Yeah.
a joyous heart and learn and see where you are best equipped and fit. And those are such great examples and just ideas of where these people can start a career producing, directing, writing, talent, and then just across the board and anything that they're doing. I mean, go into anything that God calls you to with a humble heart, and you will
Yeah.
see Him do mighty things. I think that's really just an overall message for all of us. So I
Yeah,
love you,
we
and
have to
I
love
know
you
God
too.
puts you exactly in the place that he did because he's called you to be a bright light and to love on people and to be just everything you just shared with us. So, no doubt as to why he's called you to be a leader in the places that he's called you to. So, We love you. And I just thank you for joining us today, Lisa. And I thank you for everything that God is doing in your life. And I can't wait to see what He's doing next and supporting your projects. And everybody that's listening, we are going to have all the information for Lisa's movies and how to connect with her and to stay connected and follow her in this episode. So make sure that you stay connected. And I just want to say thank you again, Lisa, for joining me today and all of the women in my world.
Oh, you're so sweet for having me. It's so much fun, and I can't wait for us to work together.
Me
I'm
too. I
ready.
cannot wait. We are going to do that soon. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
All right. We will see you again soon. And thank you again for being one of the women in my world. And everyone, I just want to say thank you again to Edify. Make sure that you check us out on Edify. You share it with a friend. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple. Spread the news. These are the women in my world, but I know that they will influence your world as well to continue to activate, create, and propel you into whatever God is calling to you next. Thanks again.